as you exhale, let go. Let go physically, let your body relax. Settle into your chair, get comfortable. And now draw in another long, deep breath, filling yourself up with the life of God. And as you release that breath, relax your mind. Whatever thoughts, whatever busyness, whatever cares you've carried in with you this morning, release them and relax. And one more long, deep breath, drawing in the life-giving energy of the divine. Holding it for a moment, allowing it to circulate throughout your entire being. And then exhaling and releasing whatever doesn't serve you, whatever stands between you and an experience of all that God is in this moment. As we relax deeply, we become aware of that spark of divinity that's in us. Created in the likeness and image, we too have divinity. Not only are we aware of that spark of divinity, but we connect with it, knowing in our heart of hearts our innate oneness with the Creator, our innate oneness with all that is, our innate oneness with wisdom, love, peace, guidance, and so much more. And into that expanding awareness of the divine all around us and in us, we relax. We relax and simply bask in oneness. Easily, effortlessly, joyfully, we experience oneness in the silence. Thank you, God. Thank you. I am grateful for this time of sacred communion. I am grateful for all the rich and wonderful experiences, people, and some situations that bless my life. I am grateful even for those circumstances that aren't necessarily those that I would choose, but are in my life to bless me just the same. Thank you, God. as I know with assurance that all is well, and I am grateful. And so it is.
I like these two songs, and so I decided to put them together because they speak about being grateful and not taking for granted all of the things that are part of the day-to-day.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved and set me free. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I see leaves are green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies are blue, and those clouds are white, bright sunny days, those warm sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on those faces of people passing by. And I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? Well, they're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. What a wonderful world.
Thank you, Claire. I think we've got the technology sorted out. It's amazing how powerful that on switch is. Good morning. Thanksgiving. You looking forward to turkey and dressing and all the trimmings?
The tryptophan.
True.
Gratitude is a fun attitude to develop, and it's so easy to be grateful when things are going well and when we have things in our life that we're truly grateful for. However, in Thessalonians 5:18 we're told, in all things give thanks. What? I'm sick, I feel awful, and I'm supposed to be thankful for that? My best friend just died, I'm supposed to be thankful for that? I lost my job, am I supposed to be thankful for that? Who are you kidding? The stock market just crashed, I just lost everything. I'm supposed to be thankful for that? Yes. In all things, give thanks. And I want to be real clear when Paul wrote this to the Thessalonians, to the church in Thessalonica, which is in modern day Greece. He didn't say for all things. He said, in all things, give thanks. So what's the difference? And more to the point, why on earth should we be thankful for the bad stuff? Well, Paul was a prolific teacher of the truths that Jesus the Christ, that Yeshua taught. And he traveled throughout the Eastern Mediterranean. It's often said that had it not been for Paul's work, this whole movement that back then was called the Way would have petered out and died. He traveled from town to town, city to city, sharing the teachings of Yeshua. And then when he moved on, he would write letters back to the towns he visited, encouraging their spiritual growth. It's said that Paul's teachings are the essential link, get this, an essential link in the chain of spiritual evolution that leads to the development and the expression of a Christ consciousness. Hear that again. He's an essential link in the chain of spiritual evolution, leading to you and I fully developing and expressing our Christ consciousness. He was teaching us how to live as Yeshua taught in a powerful way. What is the Christ consciousness? It's that sure knowing that at all times, in all situations, first and foremost, that we are one with the Creator, that we're never alone, that through that spark of divinity that's at our very core, that which we call the Christ presence, we are empowered and have at our disposal divine capacities. That's what the spiritual journey is all about, isn't it? Knowing that truth and living from that truth. And the Apostle Paul was essential in teaching it. So he may know a thing or two that we might learn from him. In all things, give thanks, he says. What this translates to is, no matter what happens, live in gratitude. Recognize that there is one power that is greater than any earthly situation we can imagine. In all things, give thanks. Through modern understanding of energetics, the fact that all of creation is an expression of energy, we in Unity have recognized that the vibration of gratitude, of joy, of happiness is a light, high, powerful vibration. When we're feeling down and depressed and angry and upset, that's a heavy vibration. When we tap into gratitude, we tap into that higher vibration. And as we raise our vibration, as we raise our energy, what do we get more of? More to be grateful for. Now, if you want to go the other way and do the oh, woe is me thing and get into that heavy energy, I guarantee you will get more not to be grateful for. As we understand ourselves as vibrational beings, it really adds a depth of understanding to ourselves as spiritual beings. And we know as we do this that giving thanks in all things, regardless of our perspective of the circumstance, is a worthwhile practice. So how do we practice being grateful in all things? Some years ago, I saw a movie about World War II, and it was the story of a man and his wife and their young boy, all Jewish, who were rounded up by the Nazis and put in a concentration camp. And the father kind of hid the young boy away. He was only about 7 or 8. And as Dad was hustled off to do basically slave labor all day long, he instructed his son to keep himself hidden and to look for things to be grateful for. Can you imagine in a Nazi concentration camp looking for things and finding things to be grateful for? Dad instructed his son to look around him and see whatever good he could find, and to look into his own heart, his mind, his memories, and discover what there was to be grateful for. If that little boy could discover gratitude in the most horrific of circumstances, then we can too. Think about 9/11. A shocking event rattled this country to its very foundations. We watched in horror as those Twin Towers came down. But what also happened? First responders, police, medical, everyday citizens responded with love and with compassion, reaching out to those affected by the attack. In this country, we set aside political, racial, religious differences, and we came together in a powerful way to offer love and care and to restore order. Obviously, we wish that horrible event had never happened, but look at the good that came out of it. And good did come out of it. People practice the virtues of giving, loving, caring, being compassionate in a very powerful way. And no one came away from that experience untouched by it. For those of you who've gone through the prosperity course with me, The Keys to the Kingdom, authored by David Owen Ritz, he talks about being grateful in difficult times. And he has an affirmation for us, and I just love it. His affirmation when life is tough and he's feeling anything but thankful goes like this. This too is good. This too is God. And I demand to see the blessing. Little boy got up on the morning of his birthday to discover that a truckload of manure had been dumped in the front yard. Well, he ran out to the yard and he's digging through that manure and it's flying left and right, and he seems to be having the time of his life. And his older, sarcastic brother comes out and says, "So what's with you and all of this manure? Why are you so happy and having so much fun with it?" And the little boy says, "With all of this manure, there's gotta be a pony in here somewhere." There always is. There is always a gift. There is always a blessing. But we need to discipline ourselves to center in gratitude so we're open to seeing it and experiencing it. In his letter to the Philippians, the Apostle Paul tells us, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there is any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think on these things. Now, I read this, I studied it, I looked at it in several different translations, and nowhere does he say, do this if it's easy and convenient. He says, just do it. He wants us to adopt gratitude as a way of life because it blesses us, it lifts us up, and it inspires us in our own personal journey of growing in that Christ presence. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable and just, whatever is pure and lovely and gracious, if there is excellence in anything worthy of praise, think about these things. You know, it occurs to me that when we look at life, we tend to judge what's going on around us, don't we? We look at what's happening and we say, oh, that's good or that's bad. There's an ancient Chinese tale about the mayor of a little village, an elder in town, who has a son that he loves and adores. And the son goes out with his friends one day. They're on their horses and they're hunting, and his son falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And they bring him back to town, broken and battered, and set his leg. And the townspeople say, oh, how awful. Your son broke his leg. Isn't that terrible? And the wise elder said simply, we'll see. And not long after that, the army came riding through town, thundering through town, conscripting all of the young men to go fight in a war. But because the elder's son had a broken leg, they passed him by. And the town people said, how wonderful that your son wasn't conscripted because he broke his leg. And the elder wisely said, we'll see. And the son's leg eventually heals, and he goes off to medical school. And he becomes a celebrated surgeon. And the people say, oh, how wonderful that your son is such a successful doctor and surgeon. And the mayor says, we'll see. And as a celebrated surgeon, the son eventually is called to the court of the emperor, where the emperor's own son lies near death. And he's called to treat that son. And the people say, what a fabulous opportunity. And the elder says, we'll see. And despite his very best medical efforts, the emperor's son dies. The surgeon is sentenced to death for his failure. You see where this is going? We look at life's circumstances moment to moment from where we are with our very narrow vision, and we judge it, good or bad. And those judgments set us back. Those judgments lock us into thinking that doesn't uplift us. What if every step of the way when stuff like that happens, we step back and said, I'm looking for the good in this. I'm grateful for this, and I demand to see the good. We would uplift ourselves and grow in our own spiritual consciousness. Our judgments set us up for disappointment. They prevent us from being in the moment and for looking for the good and from being grateful in all things. Just for a moment, think about something in your life that's happened that you decided was bad, horrible, awful. How could that happen? How could that happen to me or to someone I love? Did declaring it bad help you? And thinking back, somewhere in that situation that upset you, that you determined was bad, as you look back with the 2020 vision of retrospect, was there any silver lining? Was there any good that you were able to discover from that situation? We're called to look for the good and to be thankful for the situation, whatever it is. We are going through some trying times here at Unity of the Valley. This is our opportunity to practice spiritual truth. Be aware of the situation. Don't give in to the temptation to judge it. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. Let's look for the good. Let's find the silver lining. Might not be readily apparent, but I promise you it's there. We're called in these times to nurture an attitude of gratitude, to practice gratitude, to say the words out loud, thank you, God, for this, and for the wisdom to deal with it. Know that your vibration of thankfulness brings good to you and to this spiritual center. As you immerse yourself in gratitude, you develop your own Christ expression. We call this spiritual growth. And isn't that why we're all here? And as you develop your Christ expression, the world can no longer overwhelm you, and you are empowered to do mighty things. In all things, give thanks. And let's take this truth even more deeply into our being as we affirm together once again our affirmation for the day. Whatever life brings me, I am grateful, confident that I can grow through any challenge. Whatever the cloud, I find the silver lining, and I am thankful. And so it is.